at a bar called Masa 14 on 14th Street, which some of you are probably familiar with. And I'm sitting across a guy who I had been dating for about 8 days. We had just started dating. He was my improv comedy teacher, actually, and like after the class ended, we had gotten rather close, and we had exchanged just some conversations that really led us to believe, like, maybe we should go on a date and see how this thing was going. But in this moment, I was getting ready to go to Burning Man for the second time, and the first year I had gone alone. And the reason I had gone in the first place is because I was a suburban mom, and I told this story at the 10 Principles a couple years ago, but I was a suburban mom who had raised a child to the age of 18, who's like sitting right here tonight. And, and so she turns 18 and she's finished with high school, and I start to think, I'm still young, I still have a whole life ahead of me. What's next for me? And so as most, normal people do, they buy a ticket to Burning Man and they go out there by themselves, especially when they live in Washington, D.C. and they work for a corporate job. So that was my first experience. And the second year, of course, I was going back again, and by this time I had found my way and I had found a camp. But I'm sitting across the table at Masa 14 again from this guy that I really, really, really like, who I really don't think understands Burning Man, because he's saying things like, you go on and go out there, and like, if there's still momentum around this thing when you get back, and if you're still interested, maybe we'll try to, we'll see where it goes. But at this point, like, we had already exchanged I love yous, and at this point, I already felt like we had something kind of amazing. And both of us had had disastrous relationships, like just tons of experience with disasters, but for some reason this one was really, we really felt like maybe we had potential. So as I'm sitting there in the bar, I get a text from a woman that I had been communicating with in New York, and I had bought 2 tickets that year with for a friend of mine that I had found the year before, only she had gotten a free ticket. So she told me she wasn't able to take the ticket or buy the ticket, and so I found another person, a friend of a friend, who was going to buy it, and as we're sitting there, this woman texts me and she's like, hey, Sola, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be able to buy the ticket after all. I'm going to mail it right back to you. It'll be overnighted and you can sell it in Reno. I'm leaving for Burning Man on Saturday and it's Wednesday. So I'm sitting here across from Sean, and all of a sudden, I have this really, really crazy thought. And it's like one of those crazy thoughts where like all of a sudden you feel like a firework is like exploding inside of you. You feel yourself like about to blurt out something like totally crazy. And then you kind of try to override it, and you're like, that's a little crazy, but then you say it anyway. So what I said is, hey, you want to go to Burning Man with me? To the guy that I had been dating for 8 days. He was really quiet, and he was calm, and he didn't say anything, and the silence felt like an hour. And after maybe 30 seconds, he said, let me see what I can do. The following Wednesday, he arrived at Black Rock City and met me at Burning Man. And so, I think for most people who experience a burn together in a relationship, as you've heard, it's very challenging. A lot can happen, and especially if you're like 2 weeks old with the person you've been dating, who you might know through improv, but in improv you're pretending to be other people, so it's not like we really knew the real people that we were. So we're out there, and I think what might have extinguished quickly a romance that was going to go nowhere, if anything, only lit a fire in ours. It was like long days of riding around on bikes, looking at all the art. It was hours of laying around on those cushions, those dusty cushions at summer camp, watching performance art, or watching a team of marching bands just like walk right in and take the whole place over, and the next thing we know, we're in the middle of this party with people on stilts. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. And for 2 people who really loved performance art and theater, it was a total joy that I hadn't had the year before because I didn't have a partner to experience it with. So it was really clear that we were going to make it. It was really clear that we were supposed to do something amazing, and it was really clear that our relationship started on the playa. By the second year, we were engaged, and by the third year, we were married. And this time, when we went to Burning Man, we would come home, and we would have, almost like about 4 weeks of just very insular conversation about it was like a week of things that were bubbling with excitement about all the things we wanted to do. And then a week about wondering why we're sitting in offices under fluorescent lights and sitting at like keyboards all day. And then another week of like recognizing that like we're totally disconnected with the community that we have that are not burners, and that all we crave is like a desire to be back in that place again. And then by the 4th week, you just reach some level of acceptance. You know what? Like, this is the default world, and this is what we're all a part of. But the 4th year, everything changed, because on the way back from Burning Man on the bus, the Burner Express, my husband says, I need to quit my job and start a business. He said, I want to have full-time. I want to teach comedy full-time, and I want to do it for corporations and businesses. And he had been doing this all along, and he said, do you think this is crazy? And I said, of course I think it's crazy. It's fucking insane, but you have to do it. Like, he said, now is the time. I have to do this. Someone else is going to do this if I don't do it. I have to make my stand now. And so about a month later, after a series of like multiple nervous breakdowns in both of us, he quit his job and he started doing this full time. And like they say, the playa provides, the work appeared. Like, it was amazing. The job started coming in tenfold. And a lot of the dreams that we had with each other when we would get off the playa were, how do we create this space that we can bring home from the playa? Why does Burning Man have to be just once a year? And why can't we take all of this amazing, like weird, eclectic, fun performance art and theater and like bring it home with us? Because neither of us are sculptors, and neither of us paint or anything like that, but what we do is are things that involve the stage and things that involve bringing people together. Why can't we have that at home? And so about 2 months after Sean started his business, and I'm still in my job, of course, because theater isn't, or comedy isn't going to pay the bills full time. We walk by a space in Bloomingdale, northwest, where we live, and we're on our way to Yoga District, and we see this for lease sign on a little tiny space, and it's the first time we've seen it. We walk up and we like peer in the windows, and it's like really old and disheveled, and it's very dusty and dirty. And about 2 days later, we're standing in there with a realtor, and about a week later, we signed a lease. I think we are totally crazy for doing this. I mean, we are like, how are we going to pay the rent? We also have a mortgage. Like, I also have a child. Like, how is this all going to work? And about a month later, a group of people got together, actually other burners, and helped us renovate the space. And we started the Unified Scene Theater, which is an improv comedy theater. It's dedicated to improv, but it is inclusive to all other arts forms. And it's located in Bloomingdale. I mean, we've had things like clown noir there. Yes, there is such a thing. We've had playwrights come and do stage readings. We've had classes and workshops, all of the things that we were exposed to on the playa. And we have been successful. We've sold out a majority of the shows that we've had. We have sold out a lot of the classes that we've had. We've had people ask us how they can participate. And that was like one of the things that we really wanted to do, was like to bring the playa home with us and not make it just a once a year thing. So if you're sitting in this room right now wondering if you should ask that guy or that girl to go to Burning Man with you, fucking do it, all right? If you are sitting around wondering if you should explore the creative outlet that you gave up years ago and you're worried that you're too old, you're not. You have to do it. And if you are thinking about quitting your job and starting a business, I know it sounds crazy, but you gotta do it. Because you know what? Burning Man is for crazy people, and crazy people are the ones that change the world, frankly. Crazy people love fire. We love to light fires in the desert. We like fires in other people. We like fires in ourselves, And that's the thing. When burners go to Burning Man, we come back, and all we do is we sit and we talk about how we keep that fire alive.